A lot of the questions that we got asked is like also looking for the low-hanging fruits, right? So imagine you're starting with your CRM retention program. What journeys do you advise should you begin with?
I think that I'm going to divide the audience into two, right? The people with a fairly sophisticated program already, they have a lot of journeys built in. They've got a lot of automations built in, and then separate conversation for the people who've got nothing. They were just sending one email to everybody. Again, I suspect that will be fewer people than we like to pretend. But so let's start with journeys. My view on journeys is if you get every journey, then you've covered the life cycle, right? By responding. So journeys are fundamental. The second thing journeys do is they ensure that every email that's sent on a journey, because it's triggered by an action, by definition is timely and relevant and contextual, okay? And our approach is typically to look at life cycle like this. You get this steep rise and then it flattens out, okay? And you know, a good customer's here, bad customers here, average customers here, and good customers here, but they all do the same curve going flat, correct? But actually what happens is if you, I looked at a lot of data, I looked at like 5 years of data from a holiday company, right? Every email that was sent, and basically I normalized all the transactions from the data in the first transaction. And what we found is the list looked like this every 12 months. And it went smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. Now, if you think about it, that's the life cycle curve upside down going this way. But what you see is people dip in and out.
They're not always in the journey.
No, they're not. No, but the journey, they're not always, they don't always want you. You're right. But no, but the difference is what's the difference between saying, I'm going to predict what every single customer is going to do for the next 3 years. Yeah. I will know in advance whether they're falling out of this, or their income has increased, or someone in their family has died, or they bought a pet. I'm going to know that in advance because my algorithms tell me that every 3 years, men who live in Utrecht, get a pet after 3 years of being married and have 2 children. That's a calculation that I don't want to be involved in.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Okay. Regardless if it's possible. You just don't want to know.
I don't want to know. But what I can do is say, the minute you start looking for pet food, I'm going to respond. The minute you come back to my website after an absence, the minute you open an email out of I'm going to put you on a journey.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So an active reach out to the platform, to your platform as a company.
Like a response.
Yeah, a response to.
Yes, you become quickly responsive.
Yeah.
Right, rather than long-term predictive.
Yeah.
And by the way, even long-term prediction, all those events that change the thing that you have to calculate for, it means even if you planned a journey, you have to be responsive, right? You have to go, this guy's no longer on that journey, he's moved here.
Or else it will be a strange message.
Exactly. Yeah. So that carefully planned journey becomes less relevant over time as you move away from when you set it up, the life cycle program, right?
So you plan, so one thing is that you plan your automations and on responding to events that are happening.
So the point is every automation. So if you're there, this question you should say is, what haven't I got?
Yeah.
Right? So I'm not going to sit down and say, for the people who have everything, oh, well, you should have this or you should have that. I would go start with what haven't you got and build it.
What do you mean with it?
Abandoned browse is an example, right? That's an automation not enough people have. Abandoned cart, most people have that. You get what I mean?
Yeah.
Browse abandoned. Sorry, I mentioned that already, but not so much. Here's ones that people don't use enough. They don't use anniversaries. Dates-driven events. Because actually that's one of the things we know most about is date. Okay, when they did something. Yeah. So I'll give you...
And with anniversaries, you don't necessarily mean birthday.
No, in fact, but even with birthdays. Birthdays are a way of sending 1/365th of your database. Yeah, an extra email.
Yeah.
Right? Okay? That's basically what it is, and you cycle through that list. No, I'm talking about last open could be a journey. Yeah, don't worry if it doesn't, but if you wanted to do it, it could be last purchase is the most undervalued one because most purchases are
Yeah.
event driven.
Yeah.
Right? A lot of purchases are, apart from just pure staying alive, you know what I mean? They're event driven. And you will do things roughly the same time.
Yeah.
And so, question, if you visit my website for the first time, that would be a journey. If you, from time of last purchase, minus a few days or weeks or months, depending. So if you sell a car, you might go, oh, okay, let me start a year earlier, right? If you sell insurance, you might start test. Is it a week earlier? Is it 3 weeks earlier? Is it a month earlier? Or is it 2 months earlier? And just keep doing that.
Yeah.
Where did I come to that? And so that's the power. And if you cover every trigger,
Every
anniversary,
Yeah.
you've pretty much got the life cycle, right? You have the timing right.
Yeah. So you're talking about responding to what's happening on your platform. You're talking about anniversary triggers, which isn't necessarily a birthday trigger, but can be like responding
Every day you have.
Yeah, every day that you have. So whenever somebody hits a threshold of like you haven't opened in 30 days, you do something. You're talking about it. Are there any other?
Or have opened 3 emails. Last time they opened 3 emails. Do you get what I mean? And then you go, when he opens 3, then do this, because the last time they opened 3, then they went into that journey. Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely.
So, and
do you see any other types of triggers next to those two?
well, again, every event, time, and there's a thing we can do. Here's stuff you can do, right? Yeah, demographic data based on location. You can do automation based on weather. I mean, but how many people are doing that? Yeah, send out an automation every time the temperature's over 25 degrees because I sell ice cream. Great, right? Not for everybody. Okay, but a time will come. But by the way, having said that, people browse less when it's sunny, and they browse more when it's raining. Okay, so you could have. I started out in search, so I kind of know that. So you would expect your traffic to go up or down depending on whether or if it's a holiday or everything else. So you can do all of that. The point I'm trying to make is look for the big numbers first. Okay, and anything where there's a bigger number, do it, and progressively go through the list that way.
And you mean with a bigger number? So let's say, okay, you analyze your data, you see that the event that people consecutively open 3 mails happens a lot.
I see a challenge here because I've built quite a lot of campaigns in the last years. And the more triggers you get, the more journeys you get, the harder it gets to organize them and to make sure that people don't get too many emails at the same time. So how you're gonna orchestrate that and make sure that you keep control of the messages if everything just happens.
Yeah, good question.
What's your vision on that?
I actually think you're looking at the wrong side of the problem, but I always think that, right? I mean,
that's why I'm here. I try to keep science as much as possible.
No. I mean, it's the world looks at the problem in a slightly different way. Okay, repeat the question. Say what you're saying again.
So the more triggers you get, the more journeys you have.
Yes.
The harder it will be to organize and orchestrate.
And I actually think the more likely you are to miss the most number of people on your list, right? Because your concern is over mailing, not missing. The biggest number is the number of people that when all your journeys are there who get nothing, right? Because the largest proportion of your list at any given time are in a state in the journey where they're inactive, right? And that's most of the time, okay? So by focusing, by looking at it in that way and saying, okay, most people are inactive. I've lost my train of thought again. This is completely, ask me the question again.
So the thing is, when you say try to make us like responsive triggers, it's harder to predict when the trigger will be triggered. So what if multiple triggers happen at the same day or in the same
Got it. Yeah, what if multiple triggers happen in the same day? What if there's an assumption that email is a bad thing, right? Less is more. So when someone is showing that they're very, very active because they triggered 5 emails, you're going to decide for them, right? Because you're suddenly God. Yeah? You're going to say, oh, no, I think that's just too much for you, despite the fact that you visited my website, you abandoned a cart, you did this, and you opened 5 times. I'm going to focus on how to stop mailing you rather than thinking, oh my God, this guy's alive. Okay? and that's what I mean is we're focusing on the wrong part of the problem. Now, yes, you do have to think about rules and exclusions and whatever it is. But what most people don't do is they don't do the catch-all and say anyone who doesn't fill any of those gets this.
Yeah. So,
Right?
So, what
And
you're
that's the
saying
bigger
that,
number.
so what you're saying is that that takes prevalence or more priority. Fix that, and of course you also have to worry about excluding people. But this is more important to focus on. Is that
Correct. And,
Yeah,
and-
the
and
problem
the-
exists.
Yes, and the exclusion things, I don't think the exclusions are difficult if you think about everything together and say, I want to touch the whole life cycle, right?
I will give you an example. One of the things that one of the clients I had in the past, they had this commercial newsletter. They sent, let's say, 2 times per week to the whole base. It's the most important newsletter because it drives revenue. And there is also life cycles and trigger based. And they don't want to, there was always this discussion like, when should they receive the life cycle email or when should they receive the promotional email? And because there is this idea that people should not receive 2 emails on a day. I'm not saying it's good or bad. I'm just curious if you recognize the
Here's the question. Let me give you an example of my weekly email goes out on a Tuesday. Someone clicks and buys. Oh dear. They shouldn't get the weekly email next week because they got an order confirmation.
Yeah.
Order confirmation.
Exclude the people that already bought something the last 7 days.
But again,
I've seen them rule a lot.
I get that, but that's where they're making the mistake because they're forgetting the branding piece.
Right.
The email that goes to everybody is actually their brand mission and it's got the best offer and everything else, and it probably has the most value. Bell curve, middle of the bell curve. It has the most value from a middle of the bell curve perspective. Most people can distinguish between the email they get on a Tuesday at 9 o'clock every week, okay? And oh, you left something in your basket. Or, oh, we noticed you visited us. Do you want to find out more information? I mean, I can tell the difference between those things, okay? And it goes back to this thing that every email is a hated object that you have to, and people are so stupid they can't tell the difference between them. So my feeling is that the goal is always send more email and to do it smartly, okay? So, birthday, 1 more email. Battling car, 1 more email. Yeah, browser battle, 1 more email. Why is it not painful? Because everyone is relevant and timely. So the journeys bring you closer to relevance, and people will understand the difference between something that happened because of an action, does that make sense, and everything else. People now have got to the stage where they recognize that Alexa or Google have been listening to their conversation because suddenly they're starting to see wedding dresses, right? They recognize that.
Yeah.
And they know that's different from a wedding dress company that's always advertising, and every time they go to their social media feed, there's that wedding dress company. Does that make sense? And we know it. And so what we do is we've learned to block certain ones out. And so the regular ones, we just say, oh, I know that. That's just reminding me. That's reminding me. I know that. I know that. And then, I do want to feel it. I do want to do this. And so I think that the better your automation, the more email people will tolerate, even in a short period of time.
Right.
And the other thing about timing and whatever it is that when did anyone last test sending 2 emails in one day? When did they test it? Or did they come from an assumption? They go, that's a terrible thing, and they've never done it. So people talk about testing, and they only test what they believe in, right? And they test. And
They don't test the
far side. It's long and short. Oh, 65 versus 45, not 200 versus 3.
Yeah.
Okay.
They don't test what they are scared for in the most.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yes, almost. That's a very good point. How many people test for something they don't believe will work?
Yeah.
Not enough, right? Especially in things like that. So if you want to say there should be a rule for X number, 2 things happen. First of all, go back in the data. Pretty much every mistake you could make, you've already done. And you'll find out that at least once, by mistake, you said 2 emails
Yeah,
on
yeah.
the same day.
And then what happened?
And then
Yeah.
what happened on that.
Yeah, yeah.
And if you haven't done that, be bold, right? And just go, let's run it A/B. So one where we do the risk, we hold out, and the other one where we don't.
Yeah.
And so the point is, rather than thinking how many emails is too many, okay, the thought should be, how can I make you want another email?
Yeah.
Right? That's the thought.
Yeah.
And if you want a soundbite, it's not how many emails should I send, it's saying how many emails can I make you want?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's really the answer. Yeah. And under those circumstances, and you'll have marketer A, marketer B. Marketer A is a very good marketer, and marketer B is a crap marketer. Marketer A will win. Yeah. Right? Because they come up with smarter stuff.
Yeah. And better offers.
And better offers than everything else, and better design and better creative and everything.
Yeah.
So
I also remember on your talk in Utrecht was that there is also this thing that we don't measure is the amount of people that don't open, like the not opens.
Yes.
Which is like an extremely important metric.
It's huge, and I talked about it a lot, and I can share it with you if you want to share it with people later on. MailChimp, very large sender, lots and lots of data. It's not all small, stupid companies. MailChimp has got a very wide, when you have 10 million customers, you have a lot in there, right? So I spoke at a MailChimp. I did something like this, a sort of lunch and learn thing at MailChimp, and I said one of these provocative things about people not opening key mail, right? And one of their deliverability and data people came to me and said, you can't say that, it's wrong, etc., etc. Luckily, the founder and CEO of MailChimp was there and he was introducing me, and he said, I don't agree with this, blah, blah. And I said to him, you more than anyone else has the data to disprove me. Make my day. Make my day. And a few months later, I got a link from the CEO saying, I think you'll like this article. Right? And MailChimp, because they have the commerce and everything, and they're able to see everything, so because they have a commerce platform and they have whether it's Shopify or their own, they can look to see whether someone who never ever received an email made a transaction because they're in this database and not that database, okay? And so they divided people who had not opened, people who are not paying, and people who didn't open for 12 months, the whole of the 12 months that they analyzed the data, and then people who responded. And the interesting thing is that in every case, people who didn't open emails on average responded better than even people who did. And both of them performed way better in sales than people who never sent an email.
Right.
Right? So this is what I mean about the branding power of email, right? Just being in the inbox. And remember, the other thing people forget.
So is that coming back to my initial question? Could that be a quantitative metric to assess?
Yeah, but I do. That's why I say send your email, right?
Yeah.
Because I know it's heavy. And it's easy to see that people who get, if you split your database and say, now I realize that's self-selecting, right? The people I send 4 to are my most valuable and the people I send 1 to are my least valuable. Take that away. Take a section of your least valuable people, right? Ones that you're not going to bail.
Yeah.
10,000 mail every week, 10,000 mail every 2 weeks, 10,000 mail in 1 week, 10,000 don't do anything, and see what happens.
Yeah.
See what happens.
Yes, and then look at your transactional data.
Correct.
Yeah.
Look at the transactional data, and without a doubt, the worst performing group will be the people who got no email in every channel, right? They will visit the store less. They will visit your website less. They will do everything less because they didn't get your email.
Yeah.